Well, new this morning, Albuquerque police say a man carjacked a vehicle with two teens inside. He was eventually caught, but not before leading officers on a dangerous chase. Police say it all started around 8 last night when an officer tried to pull over two people in a stolen car. The driver sped off, eventually wrecking near this 7-Eleven near Yale and Avenida Cesar Chavez. Now, police say the three suspects jumped out of the car. One of them carjacked a Ford F-250 as the owner was putting gas in it. He then drove off with two teens, ages 16 and 18, still in the car, leading officers on a chase. They say he then rammed into at least 4 police cruisers. The teens jumped out while the driver continued to flee down Central. Officers used a spike strip to stop the car. 2 men were arrested. They're being interviewed by detectives. Police are looking for this white truck they say could be tied to several home burglaries. Now, on surveillance video, you can see it slowly back up to a home near Golf Course in Paseo. 2 men get out, and the one wearing an orange safety vest disables the camera, but not before it captures both of their faces. APD says the pair got spooked and didn't break into the home this time, but they think it's likely they've done this kind of thing before and want to find them soon. And check this out, a thief who seems to want to be the best-dressed bandit. APD is also looking for this man seen walking into the Dillards at Cottonwood Mall a little after 10 late last month. A couple of minutes after he walks in, you can see him walk out with 2 handfuls of stolen suits. After loading them into a waiting getaway car, he goes back inside. Seconds later, he leaves with another handful of suits before taking off. So according to a police report, all of those suits are worth more than $30,000. Police say keep an eye out for this guy and the expensive clothing.
So, if your friend shows up with a stolen suit and he hasn't had a job for 2 weeks and he's wearing a $1,000 suit, that suit is stolen.
If you know anything about the clothes or the crook, please call 242-COPS. It was a sight Albuquerque neighbors couldn't stand to see. 6 pet dogs trapped inside a hot car. As News 13's Candace Hopkins shows you, if these neighbors hadn't stepped in, the outcome may have been much different.
They seemed like the dogs were panting and having a hard time, somewhat of heat exhaustion at the time.
Deputies say these dogs, 3 puppies, their mother, and 2 other adults were close to death after being locked inside a hot car for more than an hour. Neighbors on this dead-end street near Montano and Edith called police after spotting the dogs. They were in dire condition with help sitting right in front of them, but hopelessly out of reach.
And there was a water bottle inside the car. Well, the dogs were kind of gnawing at it, trying to get to that water, but it's tough breaking breaking through that plastic.
Outside it was 91 degrees, inside the car over 100. Deputies say they arrived to find the dogs visibly panicked. Animal control was able to get them out and cooled down. When deputies say their owner, Teresa Fernandez, showed up, she didn't understand the problem.
When she made contact with deputies, she was very nonchalant. She thought that it wasn't really a big deal.
Fernandez told them she and the dogs live in the car and that she was visiting a friend down the street. Although the windows were rolled down a couple of inches, officials say they fear the worst would have happened if no one had stepped in.
If we didn't get called, if the neighbor didn't call us, these dogs could have perished. You never know. And it was just a matter of time.
A grown person that can roll the windows down shouldn't be in a car for that long. It's just too much. It's unbearable, especially for a dog that can't do anything to fend for itself.
Candace Hopkins, KRQE News 13.
The dogs are all expected to be okay. They're now in animal control's custody. Fernandez was charged with 6 counts of extreme animal cruelty. Officials have identified the 4th person to die this year after being found in the Animas River as a man from New Mexico. Authorities say the man is 26-year-old Rayford Begay of Grants. The Durango Herald reports investigators say foul play is not suspected. Now, some rafters found Begay unresponsive in the river Thursday afternoon and stopped to give him CPR. Begay later died. The search is on to find the killer of a former TV producer.
We know a small compact car did leave the area, but we don't know if it was related or just left the area when they heard the gunshots.
24-year-old Joe McMahon was shot and killed outside of his home in California on Friday. The former associate producer for the reality TV series Deadliest Catch was found on the street by LA County Sheriff's deputies. McMahon was pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation into the incident is ongoing. Well, more trouble for Bill Cosby this morning. Spelman College, a historically black women's school in Atlanta, has officially terminated a professorship endowed by Cosby and his wife. This comes just weeks after documents from Cosby's testimony in a 2005 deposition surfaced. Now, in the documents, the comedian admits he got sedatives to give to women he wanted to have sex with. More than 24 women have accused Cosby of sexual assault. He has never been criminally charged and has denied wrongdoing. Wrestler and 80s celebrity Hulk Hogan is apologizing for some racial remarks he made on tape. The remarks were recorded in an unauthorized sex tape, according to the Inquirer, and it included the N-word in reference to the dating life of his daughter Brooke. The WWE has since terminated its contract with Hogan. He released a statement saying, "8 years ago, I used offensive language during a conversation. It was unacceptable for me to have used that offensive language. There is no excuse for it, and I apologize for having done it." A Texas appeals court has dismissed one of 2 criminal charges against former Governor Rick Perry. The court ruled a Texas law concerning coercion of a public servant violated Perry's First Amendment freedom of speech rights. It did, however, allow a charge related to abuse of power to move forward. Perry is accused of threatening to veto funding for the Travis County Public Integrity Unit unless a district attorney who received a drunk driving conviction resigned. The attorney did not resign, so then Governor Perry vetoed the funding. Well, this morning we're learning more about the man who police say opened fire inside a Louisiana movie theater. Experts say the suspect shouldn't have even been able to buy a gun. CBS's Omar Villafranca reports.
A law enforcement source familiar with the investigation tells CBS News Hauser had been staying at a nearby motel for at least a month. They found writings in his room that said he wanted to target law enforcement, government agencies, abortion clinics, and anyone else will do. He had even written the name of the movie and showtime he planned to attack. The source also said when police found Hauser's body in the theater, he smelled of alcohol. Thursday night's shooting shocked the 59-year-old's family. The Baton Rouge Advocate interviewed the shooter's brother, Rem Hauser.
We're trying to get our arms around that and try to find an answer to that, which we can't. And he started drifting away from us and being a recluse. We didn't know what happened. He just went quiet on us.
But there were signs of trouble in Hauser's past. In 1989, he was indicted for hiring someone to burn an attorney's office, and a judge ordered a psychiatric evaluation. Then in 2008, his family filed a protective order accusing him of domestic violence. The order was later lifted at the family's request. That same year, he was treated for mental illness at an Alabama facility.
He was usually mad.
In his hometown of Columbus, Georgia, newspaper columnist and former radio talk show host Richard Hyatt knew Hauser as a frequent fiery caller named Rusty.
Rusty was just resentful that people wouldn't listen, be it the council members, be it the school board, the water board. These folks just won't listen to me, and that kind of irritated him.
Police still don't have a motive for the attack, and longtime residents like Lafayette Police Corporal Paul Mouton are struggling to figure out why Hauser chose to attack this quiet southern town.
You're from this area. Do you take this personally when this happens here?
You know, it breaks your heart because it's a place that, that I've visited with my family and have attended movies at. It's personal in that, why pick our community to commit such an atrocious act?
That was CBS's Omar Villafranca reporting. Now, 3 people still remain in the hospital this morning. The Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department needs your help finding a missing woman. Deputies say 65-year-old Ignacia Size was last seen in the West Mesa, southeast of the Route 66 casino on Thursday. They say they've since found her car burglarized in that same area. Size is about 5'6", 150 pounds, with curly black and gray hair. If you've seen her, please call police. We now know more about the man who police say used a stolen front-end loader to steal an ATM. Now, this is an update to a story we first brought you yesterday morning. Witnesses say 47-year-old Tommy Burks was driving the John Deere loader recklessly near 98th and Central late Friday night. Police say Burks used the heavy equipment to get his hands on an ATM, wreaking havoc in the process.
He scooped up an ATM, knocking the power out for like 4 blocks of the neighborhood. Hit a building, caused massive damage to that.
A nearby officer saw the loader leaving the parking lot with the ATM still in the loader bucket. When confronted, police say Burks tried to flee on foot. That front-end loader had been reported stolen from a construction site. Well, 2 suspects connected to the murder of a teen have turned themselves in to Roswell police. 19-year-old Dominic Finch was shot outside a home on Wednesday. Police were looking for 39-year-old Stephen Johnson and 38-year-old Jennifer Purcella. They say both came into the police station Saturday morning on their own. Authorities say Johnson was arrested on an unrelated probation violation, while Purcella was released. They both remain suspects in the case. Police in Raton have arrested a suspect in a deadly shooting. 19-year-old Flavio Rodriguez turned himself in yesterday afternoon. He's accused of shooting 33-year-old Jacob D. Salas. Salas was found bleeding heavily from gunshot wounds to his leg and groin at an apartment Friday afternoon. Salas was rushed to a nearby hospital where he died. Rodriguez is charged with murder, tampering with evidence, and child abuse. A man who police say threatened a pregnant woman at knife point has been arrested after a standoff. Albuquerque police say 41-year-old Patrick Garcia was at a home in northwest Albuquerque yesterday. They say the pregnant victim called 911 saying Garcia was threatening her. Officers say they were able to get the victim and her friend out of the home, but the suspect refused to talk to police and barricaded himself inside. Police say eventually Garcia did come out on his own. Police in Oklahoma are digging through the social media activity of an 18-year-old accused of stabbing his family members to death. Investigators are hoping to piece together Robert Bever's possible motive for the brutal attack that left 2 adults and 3 kids dead. Bever's 16-year-old brother also was being held. Police in the Tulsa suburb of Broken Arrow say the brothers used at least 2 knives and a small hatchet to stab their family to death Wednesday night.
Whenever you have juvenile victims, it just impacts us so much more. So, you know, we want our hearts go out to the victims.
A 13-year-old and a 2-year-old daughter managed to survive. Police say both are alive thanks to a 911 call made from inside the home by one of the younger brothers moments before he died. Grieving family and friends of Sandra Bland gathered in Illinois for her funeral. Bland, an Illinois native, was in Texas for a new job at her alma mater when she was pulled over for failing to signal a lane change on July 10th. Police say the traffic stop, which was caught on cell phone video, escalated into a confrontation, landing the 28-year-old in jail. Days later, she was found dead in her Texas jail cell. While many at the funeral yesterday say she didn't deserve to die, others say she should be celebrated for standing up for herself.
We're going to be celebrating that she walked and lived in her own truth.
Bland's death remains under investigation, but prosecutors pointing to preliminary autopsy results say she committed suicide. Her family is calling for an independent autopsy. This morning, officials will be looking into the damage in the Cosmo fire at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas. This footage was taken by a guest inside the hotel. Yesterday, trees and cabanas caught fire on a pool deck. Fire officials say one person was taken to the hospital. Their condition is unknown.